Welcome to my review of Horizon Shift 81. And I'm playing this on the PS4. I believe it's on a few other platforms, though I'm not sure. I beat it in around 4 hours and 35 minutes. It's quite a challenging game. Here you see me playing it on the Arcade Classic mode. And once you do beat a level, you can access it in level select. So while it doesn't save, it does save what levels you beat. So you can just go in level select and go back if you do shut the game off. But yeah, I was definitely surprised by this one. I didn't expect it to be nearly as good as it was. Now initially you'll see me, I have it recorded in low video quality. I didn't realize that. YouTube really butchers it if you try to upload directly to YouTube, but the best way to record videos on the PS4 or PS5 is to send them out to an external hard drive. And see, now you see how much sharper the video quality is because I figured out that I had to put it on a hard drive first and then transfer it. So basically the way the game works is, your ship is on top of a line, and you can switch between the line at any time by pressing up or down to switch sides on the line. And, doing that makes you immune to damage on the other side of the line. So if enemies are coming at you and overwhelming you on one side, you can switch to the other side, and it can make you immune from damage. But there's many enemies and projectiles that will go through the line or break pieces of the line off temporarily, causing you to have to make jumps, or sometimes you have to just avoid, or use your dash to dash through an attack. Your dash has some invincibility frames, and your dash, you can dash left and right. It also destroys most enemies. So you can use it in a very tactful way to either dodge things or destroy things. So that's a big part of the game. You have L and R bumpers to dash, and they correspond with the side that you dash on. So left bumper will dash to the left, etc. You also have various weapons that you get temporarily that you pick up in the environments. Now the weapons will usually last until you pick up a different one. You can jump as well. So you have quite a bit of mobility and control, and of course the invincibility frames of the dash move. So you really want to utilize all that because the game gets quite difficult. I'm not sure about the other modes as I haven't messed with them yet, but this is pretty much the main mode from what I can tell. And the way it works is you have about 2 or 3 lives. And actually, to get the levels to appear in the level select, you have to beat about 3 or 4 levels in a row to get to the next checkpoint. That's right. So then you'll be able to select it in level select if you exit out of the game. But the way it works is you have about 2 or 3 lives, and with those lives, you have to make it to the next checkpoint. If you lose those 2 or 3 lives without making it to the next checkpoint, you'll start back at the last you'll start a few stages back where you left off at. I think you have to beat 3 or 4 stages to get to the next checkpoint. I think that's mainly how it works. The game does explain it when you start the game. It'll tell you exactly, but it's something like that. Some of the power-ups you get can shoot backwards behind you, and even though it's a small stream of bullets, it does help. You also have a screen-clearing bomb. It's that red bar at the bottom that says ready. By killing enemies, I believe, you will fill it up gradually, and when it's full, you can save it for clearing the screen when you need it. It also does pretty good damage to bosses if you have it full. It's worth using on the bosses. You can see how I'm jumping here and using the dodge, because if I fall through that line, I could possibly fall to my death. Now, if you do fall through the line, if you fall through that line when it's broken, you see those caterpillars break that line. Certain enemies can destroy the line. And if you fall through it, you're not completely fucked. You can still save yourself. If you switch gravity midair as you're falling and get back on a solid part of the line, you can actually save yourself from falling. So there is that. And, you'll probably end up doing that more than a few times. This is my favorite weapon. I believe it's called the Blitz. It doesn't do the most damage, but it pretty much hits everything on screen, which gives you a lot of clearance. So, it really does clear a lot of shit out. And I even like it on the bosses. You can sometimes pick up 1-ups. One of the best pickups is the shield. That lets you take an extra hit. So it's almost like an extra life. See, I lost it there. At the end of each little series of stages, you have a boss fight as well. So you got, a decent amount of boss fights. The boss fights are pretty good. The stages are really good. The intensity, the mobility of your character and everything is really well designed. I was really impressed with this game. There's a lot of different enemy types and projectiles to deal with, so you really have to learn all the different patterns and get, familiar with all that, as well as the power-ups. So as this is an edited run for the review, I do have a full tutorial up with commentary as well for the full game, so I'll link that in the description. But you see here I'm already at level 34, which is far into the game. I believe this is one of the hardest stretches of the game. The end of the game is pretty much an endurance run where I think it may last something like 12 or 13 minutes to get to the next checkpoint. So it's a very long stretch. And you can see it's very dense and aggressive. So it does require a lot of skill, a lot of understanding of all the enemy patterns, which is all the signs of a very well-designed game. So there's really nothing that holds the game back as far as having any kind of shitty design or bad control or anything like that. There's really not any real complaints I can think of. It's one of those games that's just really well designed. Now you can see those circular projectiles go right through the line, so you need to know that. Certain projectiles, you can tell by how they look. It's consistent. All the rules of the game are consistent, so you can learn everything. But those things will go through the line, and they can kill you if you're on the other side of the line, like that. So it is one-hit death, so there is that. You got to be aware of that. See, now I got the turret power up, which gives me some extra bullets on the side of my ship, which is helpful. And there's the divert shot, which is decent, but still not a favorite of mine. But there's quite a variety of weapons. Some of them are more useful than others. Some of them are not that good. But you can always decide if you want to pick them up. Learning about your dash cooldown. Your dash, when you use your dash, it has a cooldown meter that's very brief. But you got to watch that bar, or you got to get used to just memorizing the timing, which is basically what I ended up doing by the time I beat it. Because you really have to have it in your muscle memory, and then you'll know when you can dash again. It's a very brief amount of time. But if you do try to spam the dash, you'll end up coming up short. You won't be able to use it, and it'll get you killed. So you do need to get used to the timing. But it's a very short cooldown. You can also get, one of the power-ups you get is a double dash, I believe, which allows you to dash twice in a row before using your meter, I believe. So there's a lot of different power-ups that kind of change things up a little bit. A lot of different enemy types. These asteroids, if you don't destroy them in time, will also destroy the line. It's another enemy that will destroy the line. It just means you have less room to move around until the line heals itself. But you can jump. You can also get a double jump, which can help with traversal as well, especially for the holes. Though I didn't find the double jump that useful, because usually I'll just jump and dash if I want to cover a lot of distance. You can dash in midair as well as on the ground, so it gives you a lot of mobility. Dashing also wipes out projectiles and kills most enemies, so you can use it to clear out enemies, like I said. Especially with the spikes, it's useful. These spikes that travel along the lines can be very sneaky if you're not paying attention to them. They can easily catch you off guard. You can see the game gets dense by this point, and you can see that it's a long stretch, since this is showing, the final stretch of the game. And like I said, it probably lasts... it lasts quite long. I don't remember exactly how long it lasts. I just remember it was a long stretch that you have to survive. And see, that's the checkpoint. So now, this may actually be the final boss. I believe I completed the final boss without any damage, so it was a clean run. I think this is the final boss. I don't remember exactly how I edited this, but we'll see now. But if you like what you see, then you have a good idea of what this game is like. The difficulty is very well balanced. It doesn't start off this hard. It escalates gradually. But then when you get to the last stage, the final stretch is quite a big jump in difficulty. So it does definitely provide a challenge. And you will really have to utilize all your skills that you learn. It is the kind of game that you can, learn pretty well, as the enemy arrangements and everything are not randomized. So, most of the patterns and things you can learn what to expect. The bosses are usually pretty easy because you get a checkpoint on the bosses. So I found them very easy, since you get a checkpoint right at the boss, and you got basically 2 or 3 lives to try to defeat the boss when you use a continue or whatever. You have unlimited continues. So, I mean, with 2 or 3 lives, it's plenty to take down the bosses. They're not as hard as the stages are. So, if you've gotten this far, the boss shouldn't even be a problem. But they are fun fights. And they can absorb quite a bit of damage. But see, this blitz shot is good because it has such a wide coverage, even though it doesn't do great damage. Even the power weapons that are supposed to be more powerful, when it comes to bosses, they don't seem to make much of a difference. I didn't notice much more damage when I was using the flamethrower, or I think there's a laser. And those weapons are a lot. The flamethrower and the laser slow down your ship to a really slow speed. And they're not even that good, so I really didn't like them too much. But yeah, like most bosses from a lot of old games, the patterns are very learnable. So now I have a bomb, and I'm probably going to use it on the boss, or I may wait till I'm about to get hit just to play it safe. I also have a shield at this point, too, so I'm in good shape. And the boss is almost dead at this point. So, quite easy boss compared to the rest of the game. And I believe that's it for the game. But yeah, for me, this game, comparing it to other arcade-style games like this, like Williams arcade games and games from the early 80s, I mean, for me, this is like a 9.5 out of 10. This is, probably the best arcade-style game with this kind of simplistic graphics and style that I've played. It's top tier for me. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.